Hey guys. Before I do my official announcement starting the show, I just want to let you guys know that we're streaming on Instagram, but I cannot see a thing. So if you guys want to pop on over to YouTube or Facebook, so it's literally just youtube.com/squawkingdead or facebook.com/squawkingdead, we'll actually be able to see you and interact with you. Oh, let me go live on Facebook. That would help. All right. We are Squawking Dead. And just to let you guys know, I turned 40 during our last stream last Friday. And it was kind of interesting because we'd gone on and on. We had a really full show with everybody participating. And I got off the show and I was like chatting with a couple people, after the show. And I was like, oh, wait, hold on, guys. I just turned 40. So this is kind of weird. I've got a special guest. Somebody who we all know and love, whom I know some of you have been asking about. Like, when is she coming back? When is she? We miss her. And I
doubt that.
Carol, no,
this is Dave's baby. I am here as a guest participant.
She's a guest host.
I'm a guest.
Host
yes.
with the most. But yeah, she's here.
Hey.
Your prayers have been answered. So stop being humble, you little humble brag.
My gosh.
And so we have a very wonderful episode ahead of us. I mean, according to some people, I'm one of them. I don't know how Carol feels about this episode.
I thought it was very good.
Yeah,
I thought it was a really good episode. Well done.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people initially, at the very least, got the hint that they were not pleased with Henry, to say the least.
But I mean, he's a teenage boy, so I mean, I think that's to be expected. He's not going to be wise beyond his years. It's not going to happen. Yeah,
he kind of played his role, his age.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he played his age. To me, it was expected. He's not necessarily the most likable character, but it is what it is. I mean, he works for what his purpose is there at that moment, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. He's playing the role he's meant to play on the show. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I wasn't really bothered by it because I kind of felt it was expected behavior.
Yeah. You know what? One of the fans of the show and just a cosplayer friend and Jessica basically said that what would have happened if Carl didn't leave the show. We'd all be saying, or people would be saying the same thing about Carl, like how naive and whatnot. And she was like, I'm almost glad he's not around for the storyline so that he doesn't get the hate. So
yeah, I mean, he would have been the same. He would have been doing the same thing, his character. So it could have been anybody. It would have been him. It would have been Henry. It would have been, the same kind of behavior. So whoever it would have been, we would have been like saying the same thing. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. What are you, a stupid kid? Don't you know just better?
Acting like a teenager.
Yeah.
Just acting like a typical teenager. So, which is annoying.
Exactly. Typical teenager acting annoying. Lydia ain't no better,
Well.
So she's had a little training /
Stockholm syndrome. So
yeah, she's got a lot of training, quote unquote. But yeah. So I kind of split this episode up into 3 different parts, and I mean, really, the main focuses are going to be Lydia and Alpha backstory, Lydia, Henry, and Daryl, like that, and that whole entire interaction, and then you've got like the side part, which is, the search for Luke. And then you have a little bit at the end with the Alpha introduction where she kind of comes in. So
yeah,
it's a very, like, compared to All Out War where you have episodes where you don't see many people, this kind of keeps it contained, keeps it in 3 main parts. It's really easy to break down if you just concentrate on the 3 parts instead of, you don't have to even go chronologically. It's kind of great.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Keeps it simple. So I will ask you, everybody say hi to Carol first. Oh, wait, actually, before I go on, what really, really helps the show, and I'm kind of glad the Instagram stream it's there. I can't see you, but it's there. But what's really good is you guys coming on the mostly YouTube screen. So thank you. Like and eventually comment. Subscribe if you haven't already. That would be great. It really, really helps us. And I appreciate you guys coming on. Everybody's saying hi to you, Carol. They miss you. They
Hello.
love you. Yeah, and it really, really helps the show. So, and if you can take a moment to check out the new website design, it's not really that new. We just rearranged some of the icons and stuff like that, so it's a little easier to find and listen to us and watch us if you want to. And I guess if you could spare a rating on the iTunes and the Stitcher. I mean, which Stitcher is really difficult to do. I mean, if you can brave it, do it. Thank you. So yeah, thank you so much. And with that, choose your path, Carol. This is a Choose Your Own Adventure podcast. How great! How lucky are we?
Yeah. So should we just start at the beginning then? Like I guess a lot of this is the backstory of Lydia and Alpha, and just kind of like seeing these early days of the apocalypse, which I thought was oh, sorry about that.
That was our live stream on Instagram.
Sorry.
I guess I'm very loud.
Got a lot of things going on in one room here.
Yeah.
I think it was cool to see like the early days of the apocalypse again. You haven't really gotten a chance to see that since like 8 seasons ago. So that was kind of like a blast from the past. But I thought it was cool the way they kind of kept you off your toes, that you weren't necessarily sure what the story was exactly. What was really happening in the backstory is and I kind of like that by the end, you sort of like get the rug pulled under you, and you kind of see that, you kind of work through Lydia's psyche, which is just that she's been sort of kind of fed this lie and kind of brainwashed in a sense to think that her dad was this weak person. And you come to find out that in reality, it wasn't the case, and her dad wasn't the abuser. Actually, it was, her mom. It
was like inconsistencies too, because he was a weak person, yet he was very abusive. And blah, blah,
there
blah.
were a lot of inconsistencies in the story, the cutting of the hair, but then he has a beard. So you kind of start seeing like there's the jumbled pieces in her head. And then by the end, it's cool how it comes together, and you see, okay, this is what it was. This person was somebody who was already like an abuser, which was kind of like the underlying thread in the whole episode, the idea of like, domestic abuse and things like that, whether it was like what she abused and child abuse and Daryl's child abuse. And
right. Revolving themes there. Yeah.
Yeah. And which was cool because it kind of harkened back to like, some of the little insinuations that we got in like back episodes, like, think about like the episode with Daryl and Beth when they were in the house, and,
right.
He kind of talked a little bit about like his dad, and you kind of get the impression of some of the abuse he dealt with there. And then the episode with him and Carol, I think it was called Consumed, when they were in that kind of like women's battered home or shelter, wherever. He was looking at a book for like child abuse victims. So like you definitely got the impression. You've always kind of known that there was some abuse in his past, like growing up. So it made him like a good pairing off to kind of like get to the core of what's going on with Lydia, because he knows it when he sees it, basically.
Right. Like me, was it like attracts like in a weird way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can pick it up. He can sense it. He can pick it up.
Yeah. And that kind of what, and then you could even look at Henry's like upbringing, like things were rough for him. And then he meets, Carol and Ezekiel, and you're talking about at least Carol having been in an abusive relationship. Everybody in that family is gone but her. And then, he gets to enter into this new kind of, version of Carol that she reinvents because, all the obstacles in her way are removed, and she could be like, what you could consider as her true self in the apocalypse, right? So, yeah. So
Yep.
it all kind of comes together. There is a mishmash between all three of them, but there's also like what I said in the last episode. A lot of you may remember, because I know you guys, many of you people around, like even Nashville Negan, who just popped in. One of the things that I mentioned, I think near the end of the episode, is there's a lot of yin yang going on here. You've got Lydia, who grew up in a dark place but has a white center, and then you have Henry, who was, had a dark past, killing Gavin, but then like growing up eventually like in a wholesome kind of, almost not innocent upbringing, but like relatively like pure, is free from all the troubles that would kind of hinder him, and become like this really responsible adult trying to build a future, whereas Lydia is kind of like, there is no future. And so there's like a lot of yin yang going on. You could even say that, and this is something I wanted to mention eventually, but like Lydia and Carol, they're the centers of the yin yang, the little circles and the yin yangs, like the two parents, they're kind of contrapositives. Like they're both dark, but one fights for, her family building good, and the other one kind of fights to survive, to move on, to be. They both have different motivations for being the strong characters that they are. So yeah, and then they find each other, and then what happens, right? Lydia and Henry. So yeah, Daryl is so Nisa says Daryl is Omega. That's interesting. Alpha is Alpha, Omega, and the Omega when they two meet. So cool, but yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up right from the jump also was that we have never seen a pre-apocalypse flashback. And not only that, we rarely, if ever, touch upon anybody's backstory on The Walking Dead. Ever.
True.
This is a huge ass first. You think we would have gotten to this sooner. You think we would have gotten a Negan flashback like you always wanted.
Yeah, no, it's a travesty.
But they did that on purpose. Right? I mean,
yeah,
that would break the wheel.
I think that they had to, because this group is so. The thing is that you have to really think about how you're going to introduce a troop like this, because I think with villains like Negan or the governor, I feel like the governor, you touched a little bit on kind of backstory, not too much,
right,
just a little bit. But I think I think
it was more recent history, so it's not like you didn't go all the way back to the beginning.
No, I think that with Alpha, you kind of have to, because their group is so bizarre that you have to try and kind of understand, like, how do we, and we're still not like really like, how did these people get here? I mean, you kind of get an idea of like, this person was already a psychopath. Like the apocalypse just basically gave her free reign to kind of like, let her freak flag fly basically. But like, she was already there. Whereas people like the governor and Negan weren't necessarily, well, you could say they're sociopaths, but she was like on a different level,
Right. I guess maybe when it comes to the topic of abuse.
Yeah.
There's the theme is so sensitive that you kind of have to give it like the entire context,
Right. Could be.
So, there's no other reason why I can think of for them to kind of break that pattern, of never going back, never finding out. People will occasionally say where they came from, what they did, but they would never go. First of all, they would never go into a flashback.
No.
And no less like a full ass backstory, or not a full ass, but you know what I mean. Like how it all went down for them. So that's really interesting. So Walani says they're saving it for a Negan spinoff. Like, I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know.
That would be interesting though, if they did some sort of Negan prequel. Like the prequel to Negan. I could see a long road that leads to him becoming Negan.
They could, but I think, I don't know. They could do that if they wanted to, but I think it would have been helpful to, personally, they should have done it during the war. It would have broken things up a little bit and not make it drag so much. And it would have made him a more sympathetic character to people, I think, if they would have like just gone into a little bit of his backstory.
Right. But I think we're getting there now. With all the, with all what we're seeing in the last episode. It's so much more humanizing to see him go through all of it, and still get to see that bit of him being a scumbag. Where, well, not really, but like when you discover that he had like a getaway plan the entire time, he was like top dog at the sanctuary with the bike and the canned food in case shit went down. and nobody found it in 6 years. So it just it's like this little reminder, like, oh yeah, it was a piece of shit. It was a total piece of shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
If the shit went down, it was all about me.
Yeah, he had a contingency plan.
Yeah, I mean, it totally fits, but at the same time, like, oh, that's just another reason to remember who he was. So yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, let us start with the backstory, because what's really cool is that what I did was, like, I kind of went through, because you and me, we watched the show twice and we get some notes, and I really kind of went through the lies versus reality, and how and when does it bend around, when does it go back around, and when does she find out really the truth, and like what is real and what is fake, and like right from the beginning, like the one thing you may have missed is that I assumed that both parents had the tattoo of their daughter's name in the inside of the arm. But what I found out was, right from the beginning, if you don't notice it, and he's grabbing his head, you don't see the Lydia tattoo on his arm. You only see it on Alpha's, who becomes Alpha's arm. And then later on in the episode, you see it on his arm, and it gets really confusing. So
yeah, things start to shift.
Yeah. So if you don't rewatch the show again, you don't see that it's not there in the beginning. But when you watch the show, slowly you start to say, wait, hold on, he didn't have that tattoo. Why is he singing that? Oh, okay.
Right.
So you see where, like, the gaps in the memories are. I mean, like, even the way the father goes down at the end of near the end of the episode is not really the way he actually went down. So,
right. Yeah, no, it's
true. But what did you think about, like, the idea of them kind of going, start of the apocalypse, Like,
yeah, I thought it was good to give the backstory.
Choosing to do that, to
I think they had to. I think they had to kind of give some backstory to Alpha. Otherwise, like, her character just seems so out there that they had to give her some context, because I think the character is so savage and so extreme that it would have been hard to understand, whoa, where is this coming from? They had to kind of give some context. And they had to kind of give some context to the relationship and why she might be fearful of her mom or all of that sort of stuff. They had to kind of really cement where that's all coming from. So I get it. I understand why they did it with her. I mean, I wish they would have done it with, like, like I said, I wish they would have done Negan backstory, just to kind of, like, give him some more dimension, which is something that he always needed. Now he has more dimension, but he could have used some backstory back last season. But I understand why they did it for her, because they have to give some context to the extent of this relationship.
Do you think that they packed enough punch into how serious Alpha is initially? I mean, because I do get the sense of how frightening she is. I don't feel as terrified. I mean, like, obviously the makeup is really impressive, but, like, I feel like I should be more terrified. Is that really bad of me to say? I feel like I could have been more terrified.
I think that you have to kind of give it time. I mean, I think it's like the first introduction. I mean, I think her introduction was terrifying, but I think but also maybe, I don't know, maybe it's also clouded because of the extent of things I know that she'll do. So,
okay.
That's
a good point.
That could be clouding it too. But I mean, I think that was, like, the tip of the iceberg. And I think that they already made her way more terrifying than she is in the comic, for sure.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. In the comic, she's more of like a vixen. And I think that this is, they decided not to go that route on the show. They decided to make her just a formidable, terrifying person.
Right from the jump.
Yeah.
Right.
Not like someone who is powerful, but a sort of, like, kind of superhero, like Vixen, Poison Ivy sort of, like, kind of character. It's like they didn't go that route. They went a very different route. But I'm glad they did that, because I think it makes it gives more depth, and it's easier than kind of going the route that they did in the comic. I think they kind of took a little bit of an easy route with her in the comic, and I think now creating her like this makes her more complex. So I think they have more to work with.
Sounds like the governor to me.
well,
like, a little bit in terms of, like, giving her a little bit more complexity, not making her so not wooden, but like almost like monotone. Because it sounds to me like the comic book made her out to be, obviously superhero-like, but not superhero, like supervillain, let's say.
Yeah, I think that they just kind of like went the route of like, oh, she's a villain, but even with the bald head, like there's still a level of attractiveness, and that kind of plays into her eventual undoing or whatever. Here, I don't think that that's going to be a part of it whatsoever. I think that what takes her down in the comic isn't going to happen here on the show. I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, okay. So that's a bold statement you just made, which is pretty cool, because I also have been having thoughts about how her demise will be. And I've even been thinking about how it's possible that it doesn't... Okay, so here's what kicked this off, because I think my thoughts need context. Was it Lauren Acuna? She's like one of the people that I follow. I think you started following her, and then I started following her. She kind of does blogs and like general horror, but mostly The Walking Dead. So she posted a survey today about basically a general survey about the Walking Dead season 9, like who do you want to die, who do you not want to die, stuff like that. Like, I don't know why. Maybe to just gather data and see what the fans think. And one of the questions was, who do you most want to die on this season? But what's interesting is she included Alpha and Beta. And I thought if you needed a way out of that question and not kill off somebody on our team that we adore, like you could always choose Alpha or Beta. Then I was thinking to myself, I was going to choose Alpha, but then I chose Beta because if Beta was still around, it would protect her, and there wouldn't be a possibility for her to redeem herself. So there's a thing in my brain about, like, with Negan's changes, with the way he's kind of interacting with the world, the way he's coming back, with Judith. And I was just thinking to myself, what makes us think that they're going to do the same thing in the comic book that they're going to do to Alpha on the show? How is that going to go down? And when you were thinking about how her demise was going to be, what are you thinking in terms of changes?
I don't think anything specific. I just don't think that they're going to go some romantic route.
You're saying with Negan?
That certainly is not going to happen.
You're saying with Negan?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Also bold. Tell me why you think that way. Yeah,
because like they've definitely built her up to be not interested in that whatsoever. Like she's just a powerful savage. Like there's no interest, there's no love there. And so I'm happy to see that, because I think it's so easy to go that route. It's really easy to just kind of be like, okay, he falls for this like Lothario, and then he's part of her undoing or whatever. And it's like, well, I mean, in the comic, fine, whatever. But I mean, for that reason, Alpha's run in the comic isn't even all that long, kind of because of that. So it's just sort of like, that's a waste. So I'm glad to see that. I really don't think they're going to go that route. So she'll have a demise for sure, but I think that they'll give her a more worthy demise, something that's more fitting for like someone like her.
Yeah, yeah. Which would give them an excuse to extend their story arc a lot longer than they would, because I mean, I think we're all agreed that this Whisperers arc is going to go well beyond season 9.
Yeah,
and probably a lot into season 10.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they'd go all the way through season 10?
No, I don't think so. Maybe half.
So yeah, maybe half. I mean, Nashville Negan says, I could see Maggie taking out Alpha when she returns. Interesting. Yeah, and other people are saying the same thing. Like she's more off a rocker on the show. They're terrified of her as of now.
I felt that she was truly terrifying for me. I thought it was awesome.
Well, especially when you compare, it sounds like too, right?
Yeah, like I mean, she's like I said, she's just kind of vixen-like in the comic, and that's fine. It works on a comic book, but on the show, I like the fact that she is just scary.
She's scary.
She's scary. She's just like her presence, like the moment that she like arrived was to me awesome, because it was just these dead eyes and it was just great.
Right. Beaten down face, dirty. Yeah. You know
Yeah.
what? This kind of brings up something that I spoke to with, I don't know if he's on, but, and if you are No Sanctuary, I can't see you. If you are on the Instagram stream, if you want to be seen, you can pop on over to YouTube or Facebook. Basically, I was talking to him about this concept of, like authors, and there are a few authors or writers that, like Chuck Palahniuk, Fight Club and all that, like where when he writes woman parts, like female parts, they sound like men. And you do have the trope with comic books where, like, comic book people tend to look like really good because, I mean, how it's not to say that it's hard to write ugly villains or ugly heroes, but, and, people tend to be like more symmetrical featured and, chiseled out. You don't get to see the ugly divots in between their face and their nose and all that stuff. But like people generally look polished, but their voices also sound like sometimes they'll sound more on the like the masculine section of things, like men writing for female parts. Mm-hmm. So the impression that I got of like Kirkman and maybe these characters is that maybe there's a little bit too much like of a masculine or maybe even masculine kind of driven female parts, female characters is what I mean. So I think this gives her a little bit more of a fleshed out. I mean, this is a perfect argument that you make for Jeffrey Dean Morgan when he plays Negan. Like, it's a lot more fleshed out. There's nuance to his performance and his character, and you see the same thing with the show. You have a female showrunner, and so Alpha is a lot more complex. She's less wooden. She's more terrifying, and she can lean into that. So it seems like. This is really only proving like how right I think you are about how like the departure slightly at least to the comic book counterpart,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's just a very interesting idea of how some people will write female characters, but they kind of sound like men,
Mm-hmm.
like Lothario, like you were mentioning Lothario. And I was like, oh, she falls for the Lothario.
Yeah, like it's just kind of like
it's a bit tropey, isn't it?
It's just super feminine and predictable. Like, so it's sort of like, nah, So I kind of like that the show version is tough. I'm like, okay, good. She's tough. She's not going to just kind of fall for some dude. Like she's terrifying in her own right.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Exactly. She doesn't need a dude to be terrifying.
No.
Or to lean into that, like lean in further to that terror. She's right. Here, she's now, right?
Right.
So actually, and Nashville Negan says something very interesting. Well, Daryl's getting Maggie's arc right now with the Whisperers. So what happens when Maggie comes back? If Maggie comes back, right?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
But I'm trying to think of in the comic, Maggie's, I don't know, Maggie's...
At least with greeting Alpha from the panels that I've seen. But I don't know if the departure ends there,
Wasn't it Rick that greeted Alpha?
I think it was Maggie at Hilltop. I could be wrong, actually, because I don't really know. I've made concerted effort not to know. Still.
I know. I'm trying to think. Because Maggie... That's the thing. Like, it's kind of sad that like Maggie's comic book character didn't make a huge impression on me. Like, I remember, Rick and even Dwight and, obviously Michonne, Ezekiel, a lot of characters. But I have to rack my brain. I'm like, Maggie, where was Maggie in all of this?
That's a good question.
She's there, and she has, little Herschel, and she's definitely like a part of the fight against the Whisperers, but I don't know. But it's what? I gotta be honest. It's I don't know where she would fit in if she'd come back. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, and who's to say that she will too? I mean, a lot of that depends on Whiskey Cavalier.
It's not gonna. That's gonna get canceled.
But
sorry.
It does seem a little bit like it's been done.
Tropey.
Right, yeah. But what I do think is that, so let's put it this way. So she's not coming back until season 10 at least. If at all, if not in a side project, because I mean there is talks about a departure, another side. What do you call those? Spinoff. Plus the movie. So, and something I think I may have said last week was that you have the spinoff and you have Rick's movie, and I've been starting to think that Rick is not with the Commonwealth. He's not really with them per se. I am starting to think that he's with the bigger, more, what is it called? The New World Order? Is that what it's called? I think he's with them. I think Maggie's with the Commonwealth. I think somewhere in between, I think Maggie's spinoff is going to be more like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to what Rick's movie would be like a Marvel movie. So if you think of it in those terms, like Maggie will be setting up the stage to where Maggie will be setting up the stage for the movie, basically, with the Commonwealth. And then whatever happens at the end of that spinoff, that's where we are. But that's my feeling. I feel like Rick is not with the Commonwealth.
But I thought the Commonwealth was the New World Order. That was the thing. Unless they'll do it differently.
Yeah, wasn't the New World Order like the umbrella group? And then the Commonwealth was kind of like one of their, not subsidiaries, but like...
It was kind of like their scouting.
Yeah, exactly. Who weren't completely jiving with the New World Order, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, the New World Order and all of that was based out of Ohio in the comic.
Okay.
And that's where they kind of venture out to go see where are these people located. And that's where they find the huge community.
Right. And then the Commonwealth is based out of where?
No, I think it's the same, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Because there was only one.
Oh, they're all in Ohio. Okay.
Like it was just one. Because in the comic book, there was never that whole thing with what's her name? Georgie that came and gave them the information on rebuilding and all that. That never happened in the comic, but we kind of assumed based on what we saw, like, okay, this is the government group, basically. And so, but in the comic, it's through the ham radio that they make contact, and then they venture out to the meeting place in Ohio, where they finally, kind of come face to face with the Commonwealth / New World Order.
Right.
So,
but there is somewhat of a, I guess, because I do know some things around, well, Dwight's death in the comics, is that there is a People's Revolt. I don't know who heads that. I mean, Dwight heads that essentially in the comic, but.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the New World Order and the Commonwealth functions like a sort of caste system sort of way.
The A's and the B's, maybe?
Yeah, kind of like, people are ranked based on like how valuable they're seen or how much of a contributor to the society they would be. And you're kind of stuck, in your lot. So that's kind of what creates this sort of upheaval.
Doesn't seem American to me. We're all about upward mobility.
It's tough stuff.
Yeah. And well, it sounds like it's like just a whole other new problem to have too.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what are you going to do? See that, and I'm kind of excited for that. Like, I'm excited for new problems to kind of come up too. Like, the show can't be all about survival and rebuilding and then that getting destroyed and then surviving again. And there's got to be some other dynamic that kind of keeps the show afloat if they're going to go for another decade of show. Yeah.
Definitely.
Which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how if they could do that, but
Right. So further on to the episode we go, which we kind of just abandoned, which is going to happen. So what's going to happen. It's what happens when Carol comes on. It's more fun though, honestly. It's just who wants to stay on track?
I think we're still on track. I think we are.
Yeah. We're on one of those like railroad tracks, those children's sets. We just go around in a loop. We come back eventually. We just come back. Yeah.
There you go.
Just have to flip the switch,
There you
go. Yes. So as you're watching I'm loud. As you're watching the flashback scenes, you start to notice a couple things, and I'll just go through all of them, and then we could just basically see what's worth picking apart. you notice that the dad was like, we should go out, we should rather than stay put. But really, when you start to realize it's really Alpha who wanted to get out rather than stay put. You start to also understand that when like things are going south, is like, I don't want to be here with these crazy people.
Right.
Alpha was the one who cut her hair off rather than the father, which that was probably the most obvious to the audience, is that, oh, he didn't cut his beard off, because as you see in the real last scene where Alpha ends him, he still has his beard on.
Right.
And she has her hair cut off.
Right.
And then you start to realize that how subtly they're sneaking in the fact that she was heavily abusive to Lydia's father at the very least. And she was at least mentally abusive to Lydia until she got older, where she was physically abusive to her. So you get to start to realize that her power, her like power kind of stems from A, being manipulative, B, being strong, and 3, being psychotic.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So it kind of sets things up so that you really start to understand her in the present, which is probably a whole other beast that's evolved from that. What she's had to be, what she's had to do, what she's had to make people do, and and how and Lydia even mentions it on the show, and I didn't catch it the first time around, is that like people get hurt, people die, she leaves them behind, they move on. You know, and I thought that was really. I feel like Lydia could have, like, either the writers or the directors could have made that more punchy, so that we really start to get the idea of who these people are. I feel like, they could have stayed on that point a little longer.
They might come back to it.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sure they will. Some people are saying, by the way, in the chat, I'm gonna watch the first episode of Whiskey Cavalier out of curiosity. So, I mean, we're all gonna, because Noah's on the show too, and Tyler James, right? Willie Tyler James. Noah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, Noah from the show is on it too. Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
Oh, good for him. Everybody hates Chris. I always said that on the show too. Whenever I saw Noah, everybody hates Noah. Where's Terry Crews?
Oh man.
Oh yes. So the moment Lydia's memory starts conflicting is when she remembers Alpha killing that guy, and that's when you start to see her memory kind of getting fuzzy. Because that's the thing she definitively remembers truly, right? The only thing that she's been thinking that is true. And it's the words weak, pathetic, and there's no room for you here, and then click to the windpipe. Yeah. Somebody said in the chat, everybody ate Noah.
Oh,
It's Nisa.
Too soon.
Very good. This is very good.
That is very good, though.
It's always too soon with Noah, I have to admit. The way he went down was the worst.
Was one of the worst. That was one of the worst. That was
actually. Is there, like, I would put that in for the worst death, but even worse than, by the way Glenn got it. But like, if there's a worse death, what do you think is the worst death that anybody's had on the show?
That was up there.
Yeah,
that was definitely up there in my memory. But also the son of what's her name, Diana.
Oh,
like
Diane. Oh, Deanna, right?
Deanna, like her son,
Spencer?
not Spencer, the other one who like went out first
in the factory.
Yeah, he got like pinned and then he was eaten alive.
Right.
That was bad, and that was the same season. I think that was a few episodes apart from Noah's episode. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I know that somebody. It was a Nicholas, right? Wasn't that Nicholas? Nicholas was the one who shot himself next to Glenn. Right.
Again.
But, no, I'm confusing it because Nicholas is the one who got Noah killed. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Glenn had to watch Noah die.
That was a really graphic season, actually.
Man, that really got me. And I'll admit, I reacted even harsher to Glenn's death. But but just remembering Noah's death is
that was really bad.
I feel worse about that.
Yeah, that was bad.
When hope dies. Oh, one other thing that I noticed about the flashback scene. Did it not feel that it took forever for that one guy to turn?
Oh gosh.
Right?
I don't know. I'm not sure how much time passed.
Like they were worrying that he was gonna stink, and I'm like, how long has he been on that set of skids? You know?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know how much time passed.
I want to see if Sean is saying it seemed like 2 days. Like, but that's what it felt like. If they're already worried about the guy stinking, was like, which is odd to me. Like, what an odd break in continuity, or maybe there's a different physics going on here. Or maybe we're learning something. Maybe people when they died didn't turn like in exactly what they said, 72 minutes. Like, would you be able to sleep as quickly knowing that this guy died? You know, like an hour and a half. I'd be up like for 3 or 4 hours.
I think that they didn't know they didn't know at the time.
True. But you know what I mean? Like with a dead body sitting, you know, lying right there, would you be able to sleep in that short a time, like 2 hours?
I mean, I guess like they're just exhausted. So, I mean, emotionally exhausted from everything. I mean, and they're kind of cooped up in this warehouse. So maybe they just don't have any other options. So it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to go over here and just try to like get some rest and sleep off this insanity.
Right. Power down.
So who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, and so the last thing I wrote about that was like, when she fully remembers, Alpha kills her father in the chaos. It sounds like, you know, and it sounds like she's going through everything her mother made her do basically throughout time, and like it being like just telling her over and over again that, you know, this is what happened. It was because of this. You know, this is what led to this, and this is why we have to do this because this and that. Like, oh, she's a good woman. She's a good woman. She's a good mother. Oh, and it was the baby crying, like that a baby can exist in this community. But there's something really interesting about that, and that's if you saw the sneak peek to next week from Talking Dead.
Yeah, there's a person with a baby in the group.
Exactly. So why does Lydia?
Why does that set her off? I don't know.
Why doesn't she pull back? Right? Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about that obviously sets her off. So I'm guessing we'll find out more. But there's something about. I don't know.
Yeah, it does make you think. And it could, look, I'll suspend disbelief a little bit. I'll say, you know, maybe she snaps out of it because she's kind of in it. You know, she's been talking about it. She's trying to remember, and maybe the baby kind of sets her off or whatever it is. Hello? Are they knocking on your door? Oh.
Yeah, it's my door. Sorry about that. I probably have like another 20 minutes before I have to go.
20 minutes is good. Yeah, we can deal with that. We got rid of all that backstory. Screw that shit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, something definitely has to do with the baby. There's something about the baby that probably I don't know, but there is something there for sure.
Yeah. Well, embedded in her or whatever it is, but yeah. I didn't even think of it till now. Like, why would that have set her off if we know that there are babies with the whispers? Which I think maybe was a mistake. Like, maybe they shouldn't have done that. But what do you think?
No, I don't know. I mean, maybe she had a baby and like something happened to it.
Wait, Lydia?
It's possible.
Whoa.
Remember, the whispers do have like a culture of like just where animals, like there is a rape culture with the whispers. Obviously, like there was a person there with a baby, so that is happening within the group. So maybe.
But we don't know that yet. I mean, we're not supposed to know that yet, but even though we know that yet, but maybe and this is the one thing that's going to be, I don't know if they're just going to imply it, right?
They might imply it. I don't know. We'll have to see if they kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I thought at first like, oh, they're not going to go there, when they kind of were making Alpha very much about like a kind of like domestic abuser, like in terms of physical abuse. I was like, okay, well, maybe they won't go there necessarily with like the whole rape culture that the whispers have, because it's more about like a domestic abuse and that sort of power, you know, sort of thing. But then when she kind of like got traumatized and wanted to go back to her cell at the sound of like hearing a baby cry. And like, then we see like a baby and like the group, it's like something about this, like obviously has set her off. And I mean, she is, I don't know, like about Henry's age, I'm assuming, right? So she's got to be like
15, 16.
I'm guessing some kind of teenage, some kind of late teens or something, I'm guessing. I don't know. I mean, could she have been pregnant? I don't know.
Right.
It's possible.
Right. Well, and yeah, I think the thing that you're trying to say and not spitting it out is that, yes, one of her group no, not just one, maybe a lot of her group raped her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Convinced it was the common good. There was that holding the knife at her throat, that really large machete to her throat.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what basically, just to make it clear for everybody else, she was raped multiple times throughout many years in her teenage years, like 4 or 5, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And she was pregnant, and something would happen to her own baby.
Right. Potentially.
So that's interesting. And then that makes more sense to me to resolve that issue, because then, while she's talking about her mom lying, I don't know about lying to her, but like saying that these communities can't survive, and then all the lies she told to her to convince her of that, seeing the truth in front of her, realizing that she didn't have to get rid of her baby. What? Right.
Yeah, what? It's very possible. It's entirely possible.
My mind is kind of blown right now, and I hope they do that too. That would be so heavy for this show.
I think it has to. I don't think that they would kind of insinuate and make her have that kind of reaction for nothing. They've got to revisit that. They have to. Like, I feel like they have to kind of revisit why she had such a visceral reaction.
Right.
To be like, bring me back to my cell kind of reaction.
Right. Put me back into my cell too. Wow. And think about that. If that's true and she wants to be put back in her cell, the thing that she had to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That her mom told her to do. And what does that make her? Right.
Right.
Ooh,
mm-hmm.
That's sticky. I mean, in a bloody way.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, it's highly possible.
Had you written that down, or did you just think of that now?
No, I thought that when I was watching it, because I just thought like, God, there's something about her reaction that obviously, like, it's like the sound of a baby is like traumatizing. Like, it kind of like takes her to some sort of very bad place.
Right, right. And even if it wasn't her own baby, like maybe she saw something that somebody had done to another baby. I don't know.
Yeah.
But something that would really, really just screw with her, and that she had to forcibly say, this is for the good. This is because my mom said all these things were true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, and then she unravels. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
I need to recover here. I don't even have a drink.
It's possible. I mean, I don't know, but it just seems like it's something's there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. So now drilling down further on like the interactions between Lydia, Henry, and Daryl. Yeah, I mean, like all these things that her mom was saying wasn't possible, her finding out that they are. And then also I think, but one thing that we kind of gloss over just a little bit if we don't think about it too much is that I think the fact that Henry could have received the gift of second parents is also pretty big too. Like, I think Lydia can't grasp the idea that when your parents go, they can't be that they can be replaced by other parents that are loving. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, Daryl's your dad naturally, but like, no, I have other parents. No, I had parents before that. They died. It's like, holy crap, people will take care of you when your parents die. It's a novel concept. I think it catches her off guard. Is what I'm saying.
No, I hear you. I think so. I can see that.
All things and especially like when you watch the show a second time, you kind of realize, oh, she can't understand this kid because he's had too many parents.
Yeah, she's just not used to that.
Right, people taking care of her instead of moving on. I mean, she has had the luxury of Alpha being her mom, but is it a luxury? I'm not starting to think. No. But yeah. Oh, now I already mentioned Alpha and Carol's yin yang. I thought something stupid while I was watching, but like the idea of the egg, like Easter's coming up, obviously, Passover, and I think the symbol is kind of the same, the idea of renewal, and she initially rejects the idea of renewal,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
like we're all getting a little religious right now. Yeah, getting an education.
I see what you're saying.
So
I see what you mean, though.
yeah, this, the idea that things can come back, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, Jesus. So,
Yeah, I hear
um,
you.
but okay, so now that we're at this part, but like, what do you think, and what do you know about when Lydia says hunger is a gift?
Hunger is a gift.
Like,
Hmm.
I think most people don't understand that, like that what that meant. But I thought maybe with the comics knowledge, you would have had an idea of what she was thinking. That seems like
I
almost like a comic nod.
I didn't know that. I didn't pick up on that one though. I don't, and maybe I need to look at the comic again to see if there was anything that I missed. But yeah, the hunger is a gift part. It didn't. It didn't remind me of anything from the comic. Hunger is a gift.
Now
Hmm.
think about it. And we can
Interesting.
let me see here. Yeah, Henry's naivete. I think we should really address this fully on because a lot of people had a problem with it. I saw a lot of memes about Henry. Like
Mm,
I
I
saw like
believe.
pictures of Henry talking to Lydia. Oh, the kingdom's just a mile this way. And then like in the next like corner quadrant of the meme is like it's showing like a simulated Google Maps of the
Hmm.
hilltop in the kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people really annoyed, but I think that was the idea, like his behavior is meant to annoy you and be like, "Are you idiot? Are you an idiot or whatever?" But
What are you, stupid?
he's just a naive teenage boy,
Yeah.
So it's like that behavior is par for the course.
And he knows it. He like when Daryl kind of calls him on it, he's like, "Oh shit." It's like,
Yeah,
"Oh
like he
damn,
doesn't
you're
realize
right."
it. Yeah.
Oh, and Nisa's saying Henry needs to die. She's savage, by the way. Um, she loves the episode, but Henry needs to die. That's just what it comes down to with her opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we already predicted him as a Pike victim, and I'm a little
Oh, I
worried
don't
about my
think
own
so.
prediction. Wasn't he
I
on
don't
our
think so.
list?
Not mine. I think he's gonna be around.
Oh, I gotta revise our list then. I don't know. I thought maybe he was on it, but I don't know.
On my part, I think he's still gonna be around. His teenage counterpart friends, no, they're
Yeah,
done.
not so much. You think
No.
Addie's gone?
No, not her, but the two teenage boys that were like peeing in the hole and all that, I'm like, they're done.
Peeing in the hole. Yep.
Done.
Yeah. I am starting to regret. We did talk a little bit about last week. We went through the idea of Ezekiel being on the Pike,
Yeah, he's done.
and
Sorry.
I know I've been thinking though about it, and we kind of went through it a little bit, but and I don't want to bring it all up again, but we kind of went through the idea of maybe Carol being on it because I wasn't sure if we had said Henry was going to be there too. And to
Mhm.
see Henry and then Ezekiel being there, it's just kind of like torture porn. Like Carol seeing, the people she loves and the people she's interested in dying. Just having her to go through all that again just doesn't seem right.
Mhm.
After like surrendering to loving Ezekiel and feeling safe, like as in the episode, like Henry goes through the idea of, when my mom, before Carol became my mom, she grew her hair out, she had her hair out, and she got abused by her husband, and she decided to cut her hair short so she couldn't get pulled around by the hair, and she
Mhm.
only grew it this long now because she knew she was safe.
Right.
And no, she's not. So, and that's really fucked.
But that is the apocalypse. So I think that I think Henry will be fine. I don't think that he's going anywhere, but I think Ezekiel. I think I think they'll stick true to the comic, and I think Ezekiel will be gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that way. Like there were the rumors that were never really confirmed, but I mean, you don't need rumors.
Yeah, I mean,
It's really unfortunate too. Like how do you think this changes Carol, right? Does this change Carol? What does that do to her? Does she find a middle? I mean, you can't swing that far like left when you've been you know what I mean? Like you can't swing that far the other way once you've been safe in this spot and once it's happened to you too many times. I mean, she was almost giving up on herself when Do you remember that like scene in the road where she has that little minigun and she's like putting her hands up, please kill me, and then she shoots all the guys with this little gun?
Yeah.
I mean, and then she hides out in the cabin right outside the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
She's ready to go. She's ready to be done.
Right.
And I don't think she can swing that far in that direction again.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I often think about like how this is going to affect her.
Yeah. I mean, I think like you'll be lulled out of a sense of sleep, basically. And kind of.
You mean complacency, like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think, okay, then maybe taking it a step further then, does Carol and Alpha?
She could. I would see that more than Maggie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I would see that more, for sure. I could definitely see that as an option.
Maybe this would be like one of those fated things. Like there can only be one of me on the show.
Hey, could be.
Oh my god, this is gonna sound noisy, so bear with me. Sorry. Now I can edit that out properly. Okay. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Some of the people are saying like, yeah. I mean, Wilani's saying Carol and Alpha, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh wait, look at this. In TW Telltale Season 1, you know, the game, Lee cuts Clem's hair because she was attacked and held by her hair. So there seems to be a theme, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, in Red Machete, guys. In Red Machete, the little girl basically has to cut her hair because her sister dies because the walker pulled it.
Oh,
you know? So,
okay.
I mean, some of it's because of survival. Some of it's because of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Which, by the way, I mean, ever since we did that giveaway, I'm desperate to kind of start that series again because it's ending in I think 2 more months, maybe 3. So if I can catch up, we'll be that much richer as a species.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So Henry's hope. She's just a good person who got messed up there. And by the way, and Daryl takes his advice basically. He says just basically like he tries to talk to her after being unsuccessful with the ladle trick, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think part of him is just trying to treat Lydia like a horse, like he's breaking a horse, like a stallion.
Right.
And I think coming in with the switch and I think the switch is when he tried his like another approach, like tries to talk to her about abuse and tries to connect her on a personal level. And I think that's what worked because he does the same trick he does with Henry again. You know, meaning let Henry talk and have her reveal like her name, first of all. And then he does the same thing again where he gives her honey instead of vinegar, right? And then he says, you know, I know what abuse is like, basically, essentially. And you know, and he really tries to fix her brain. Like, you're thinking that your dad's the abuser, but your dad wouldn't hold you and sing to you to kind of calm you down. That doesn't sound like a monster to me. And then he kind of leaves. He leaves before he gets to tell, you know, because, you know, you think you're supposed to share yourself, you know, your story. But he leaves before he can do that, thus setting up Henry so that he can swoop in naturally and just like connect with her, you know, not leave her hanging like that. Because as you see, like with Henry's and Lydia's interaction, like he was there the entire time, just kind of reading her, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's turning out to be that like Michonne was really, really right about Daryl. Like he really does know how to lay out a good, let's say, trap.
Yeah. He knows he's a good judge of character.
Yeah. Yeah. This kind of gets me excited to see Daryl to see what he falls into. Do you think he falls into any sort of leadership? Do you think he'll stick around the Hilltop? Part of me doesn't think so.
I'm not sure. I am not sure.
Well, what do you want to happen?
I don't know. I think that he will take on some sort of leadership role. I think he's going to have to after all the heads on the pike.
Oh, yeah, you only have so many leaders left.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to. to an extent, but maybe partnered with Negan.
Oh boy. I mean, of all the people that would partner with Negan, though, I think he would be the last, though, right? Because of what he did to him?
I know.
Or does he associate that more with Dwight, right? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think he still hates Negan, but I think that Negan's going to prove himself to be useful in some sort of way. And potentially Judith might be that connection. Who knows? But...
Oh, so like the little ass kicker bridge?
Yeah, I can see that.
That's interesting. I mean, Walani's saying, I want Daryl to lead Hilltop. But I think she's saying no to a Negan-Daryl partnership.
I know. I'm everybody knows I'm the biggest Negan apologist.
Yeah. Oh, he's not such a bad guy.
Misunderstood.
He's just misunderstood. Guys, come on.
No, but I do think that they're kind of trying to set up this Negan arc. And I think especially with this Judith Negan kind of relationship, Right.
Which that's what really gets me is if Alpha and Negan do find some sort of simpatico, it's going to feel, I mean, if they don't set this up right, it's going to feel alien if they do it at all. And I really went into it the last episode, like how it's very possible because of his promise to Judith that like a lot of the shit that's supposed to go down does not go down. Right. I mean, this is a really good opportunity to kind of go back and, to the last episode at the very least and say, I mean, what did you think about that? And do you think this changes the Negan character? Your kid's screaming no.
Yeah.
That doesn't change a thing.
I have a toddler and a dog outside my door.
So is this your 5-minute warning?
I think so. Because I might have to bring something up.
Let's make it good.
So I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
So do you think Negan's promise to Judith changes the way things go down in terms of the Whisperers, in terms of hurting people, let's say even? Like, how does this maybe change things?
I think it'll evolve. I think that he does have sincere appreciation for Judith. I think it's sincere. I think it is. He does have some sort of sincere relationship with Judith. And I don't know. And I think he feels some sort of sense of loyalty to Judith. Maybe also to Carl, in a way. Because he did always have a soft spot for him.
Right.
So he might want to, and also, Negan's about order, just kind of like the governor had this thing about order and rebuilding. They both were about kind of rebuilding civilization and order and rules, maybe to like the nth degree. Alpha's not that. Alpha is about like, we don't want civilization to come back. We're just animals and we're going to live like animals. That's not what Negan believes in at all.
Oh, yeah.
So,
was the Negan in the comic all about order too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yep. Just checking.
Rules, punishment for, accordingly, like it was about rules, and Alpha is the opposite of that. And
very much. By the way, another example of that is in one of the sneak peeks on AMC.com. She goes, you crossed into our land, there will be no conflict. You killed our people, there will be no conflict. So already there's no sense of retribution. So I mean, on the surface level, according to her right now, you crossed in, no, you killed our people, I don't care, but you give me back my daughter or there will be conflict. So there's like this weird, there's no real rules except the rule where you give me back my daughter. It seems like she's more emotional than she is, or whatever, like about getting hers than she is about any rules. So kind of to your point,
Yeah, there's no rules when it comes to the Whispers. They just live their life like, okay, we're animals. If we have to do this, we do this because we need to do this. And that's it. But there's no like, acting like civilized human beings, conforming to society's rules. Like they don't believe in that. And they don't want to go back to that. Right.
Kind of like the wolves when you think about it.
Kind of.
Yeah, where they embrace being literal animals. Almost.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Do you think the Whisperers are, some of them are of the, I think we may see some of the Whisperers be among maybe the wolf contingent. Do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's been so long since that time that who even, I wouldn't even remember or recognize.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm reading this now, and this actually will give me a good springboard right now. So Nisa's saying she wants Lydia back because Lydia might tell them about the Whisperers. But here's the thing. That may be so. But what we know, it was we saw two scenes in which we saw Whisperers listening in the background. It's the one scene where they find the dead horse and the dead eating the horse. And the next scene where they're trying to find Luke in the middle of the night, and the Whisperers are watching them there too. And they reveal at both times that in the first one that Lydia had lied about the Whisperers being gone and no more. On the second one, they find out that at least some intel on this new group, Magnus' new group, about how much they care about Luke and they wouldn't leave him behind and blah blah blah. So they have that intel about Luke, how much they mean to them. So they know his value and they know the Hilltop's value system or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So my point about at least the first part is that they know that from the first bit of intel that Lydia is basically lying on their behalf, so she's worth saving maybe. Like what Lydia says is that she would leave her behind, and yet Alpha comes. And maybe the only reason why she comes is because she hasn't been telling them about the Whisperers. And if she leaves her there's a chance that she might eventually. Based on those two bits of intel that the Whisperers happen to, take about them. About this new group that they encounter. The 5 minutes are up.
I think so. I gotta take care of a dog and put a toddler to bed.
Well then, everybody, say goodbye to Carol.
Dave is gonna take it from here.
Dave is gonna take it by the dead horse that he beat just now.
There you have it.
It's all right. Thank you for coming on, Carol. It was really like a breath of fresh air.
As always. Same here.
Okay. We'll try this again next week.
Yes.
Oh, good night, hon. Say good night to the kitties for me.
Oh, of course. Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys. Let me fix the stream here because look how odd the window looks right now. Let's switch from solo to multi. Let me see if I did that on the other screen. Oh. Oh, it did it to both. Oh, no, it didn't. There we go. All right, guys. It's just you, me, and the wall, guys. All right. What's interesting is we don't really have that much left. Yeah, or maybe we do. Yeah, give me a sec to look over my notes because we went over a lot, and I could try going back to Instagram again. Oh, I just want to note one thing, and for the audio listeners, you're not going to get it, but I hung up Matt's poster, the one he did for my 40th birthday behind me. It says The Walking Dave. And he basically put my face on the Rick Grimes poster. And it says, what does it say? Fight the age, fear the decades on it. And and instead of the school bus that he's standing on in the poster originally, he actually took photos of my car and he photoshopped them into the photo. So I'm standing on the side of my own car. So it's a great photo. If you go to Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, you'll see on Twitter and on Facebook, you'll see the JPEG that he used to make the photo. On Twitter, I just took a photo of it and I happened to post it before I swapped out the photo with the JPEG. So you can actually see the full screen of it there on Facebook.com/SquawkingDead and Twitter.com/squawking_dead. So check that out. You could probably download it too if you wanted to. But if you want a picture of me, by the way, the thumbnail that's being used in this episode it shows part of that. Is going to show part of the that poster on it. So I thought that was that cool. Yeah, I should put it on I should, you know what? If I do put the image on the t-shirt, Walani, I will give him like at least half of that because it just makes sense. And that's like pre-cost. So, you know, and then I'll make $2 if that. That would be great. Yeah, so I'm kind of glad that like Henry, what's really interesting is that you come across Henry. He seems very naive. You get really frustrated with him as Daryl does, and Daryl does what we always want to do to Henry and when we're frustrated. But then you start to realize that Henry, like the fact that Henry's right and that he leans into this and he happens to be right about the approach, and Daryl kind of leans into Henry, shows how special their relationship is. I just thought that like that the show kind of subverting our expectations on that concept. Like we're really frustrated with Henry, but at the same time we find ourselves suddenly realizing, wow, on this show the kid is right about this girl, and based on nothing, you know. So it feels kind of hokey, but you have to suspend your disbelief long enough to kind of fall in. But what's really good about that is that it allows Daryl to find the actual solution, you know, and part of the solution is actually him digging deep and realizing what's really going on and to face certain truths about himself and where he's come from and where he's gone and how he got there and how he believes in the rebuilding when he didn't believe in rebuilding before episode 5 of this season. Do you remember Rick's plan? Making things better, bringing communities together, building this shit up, you know? Yeah, and the bonus to that, like Walani's saying, is Daryl taking care of Henry for Carol, you know? That's a bonus. That's icing on the cake. But the fact that they get along is actually huge. And they're actually getting each other. And then, like, also Lydia mentioning, like, at first that, oh, Daryl's your dad, right? So, I mean, that's kind of fun to play with. And who knows, maybe for you Carol shippers, Caryl, maybe that will be true. It's Henry's third dad. Okay, waiting for laughter because there's a lag. Oh, well, let me just take one of these. Okay, laughter over. Let's see here. Talked about that. Yep. And then Henry saying, I'm glad you and my mom are friends. I thought that was like aces. Okay, so a couple things. Nisa. No, Daryl's with me. I don't know if that's possible. You'd have to get on the show, Nisa. You can't be a female Negan. There's already a Negan. And you can't be, you could replace Nadia Hilker. I could see you going that route. And being Magna. You should cosplay Magna, Nisa, is what I'm saying. So I don't really, so the two things I wanted to bring up, just minor things, was Tara. Like I mentioned, like in my notes, like how, as much as I want to see a more serious leadership from Tara, and we do see her step into those shoes, I was kind of glad at the beginning of the episode that we got to see Tara with some more Tara banter, because I kind of missed that, you know, and as much as I want her to be a more serious leader to lead Hilltop, I do still want to see like jokey Tara, funny walk, no knives, you know, and then she just impales the dude in the head, and I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, and getting to the cornfield, Kara, and Sheegan, Nisa, the idea of Coalport, and we know what they talk about in Coalport. I just love the idea of that they're still sticking to this idea of survival isn't enough. Luke is the heart of the group. He's always advocating that we stick together. He's always advocating that we vote. He's the civilized part of our group. You know, he's what keeps us together. And I just like that idea. And then when they come back and then you see the Whisperers come in and Connie's kind of like telling to go ahead. I'm worried about Connie, especially when you see in the sneak peek that Daryl kind of goes to the gates and says to Alpha, no deal. Lydia stays with us. And then she goes, wrong answer. And then she brings out basically a herd behind her. And so I'm a little bit worried about Connie because a herd smells things, it sees things that people will automatically dismiss usually. Like a herd will find the food. A walker herd will find the food. So I am a little bit worried about that too. And you do see like one of them actually reach Connie. So I don't think anything bad's going to happen to her, but I guess it's something to look forward to because it's going to be pretty exciting, and who knows what's going to happen after that. Will Connie end up with the Whisperers as a hostage too? I mean, it's going to be something to watch. We also noticed that Tara is a lot less rigid than Michonne, because you find out that like even though like if Magna's group pulled the shit that they pulled in Alexandria, Michonne would have them out on their ass. But and there was evidence that if you don't play by the rules, you're out. At Alexandria. So they did the same thing at Hilltop, and Tara was gracious enough to kind of let them in. I thought it was pretty cool of Tara. Like, she's the cool mom, letting people in and realizing that there's, that people are dying already. Let's not lose more people like Jesus and whatnot. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And so, yeah, I think we talked already about the sneak peeks. Daryl doesn't want to give Lydia back. Tara's afraid they'll kill Alden and Luke. One thing that they don't address really is that Alpha actually in the AMC.com sneak peek for the next episode, Alpha asks who the leader is at Hilltop. And this is something we've all been wrestling with. Like, now that Jesus is gone, who is the leader at Hilltop? And they still give no answer. Like, Daryl's like, it doesn't matter. and then he's like, okay, I'll address all of you. And then this is the part where she launches it into, like, you crossed our land, you killed our people, I don't give a damn, I just want my daughter. And so I just thought that was really interesting. Hilltop has no leader. Tara doesn't. That's interesting. Tara doesn't answer, or Daryl. I mean, if you remember, like Tara and Daryl, I think it was Rosita and Daryl. So I called that. It was Darzita. Wait, guys, help me out. Was it Tara and Daryl with the garbage truck, or was it Rosita and Daryl? I think it was Rosita and Daryl. But I think it might have been... I remember coining the term hashtag Taryl, Taryl, when it came to the garbage truck that they drove into the sanctuary. Yeah. So help me out there if you get a chance. But yeah, it's those two acting together again. Who's my stream screwing up? Maybe? I don't know. Let me just do this for a second so I don't screw more up. Yeah, okay. Perfect. Yeah. The only thing I have to add really beyond this is we do see in the sneak peeks for next week, at the end of the episode, is that the kingdom is on their own journey. And it involves Jerry, Diane, Ezekiel, and Carol. And I think we're all looking forward to that, because I remember Cooper Andrews like tweeting, like showing us behind the scenes shots of that episode, and it looks pretty awesome. Actually, no, it wasn't Daryl. It wasn't Cooper Andrews. It was one of the minor Hilltop parts. I think her name is Michelle. I can't remember her name, but it's like C Shimo on Instagram. And she also plays a walker as well. But she showed pictures of the next episode, like a little BTS on that episode, relating to that. So the scenes looked pretty cool. It looks like they're in tight quarters fighting walkers, I think. But it may be also, I don't know if it's an intro to the Whisperers. Not sure. So I guess that remains to be seen. Can you guys see me okay on YouTube? I should be all right. Beyond that, I think I leave the floor to you guys. Oh yeah. Well, Eugene hurled on Rosita near the end of All Out War. It was like a couple episodes before the end when he decided to kind of fight for them. The garbage truck was, I believe that was a couple episodes before that, because that's when the Heapsters abandon Rick. They find out the guy in the outpost is stripped down. Like, it's surprising what you remember when you do a podcast on things. And then you have all these scenes with Eugene at the sanctuary. So yeah, the whole hurling on Rosita thing comes like not way after, but like several episodes later. But yeah. Yeah, okay, that's interesting, Kara. I think that Tara would make a good leader, though. I don't think how good of a leader she would be to fit the Hilltop formula, based on what we know about the Hilltop itself. I don't think Hilltop can do it alone. I don't think any community can do it alone. I don't think any community... It does kind of bring back the idea of what Rick said right around the prison, when it came to staying or going. He basically said it's up to all of us. Now, I know that's not realistic the more people you have, but I do think that there is a model in which, and at Hilltop it's proven so, and we spoke about it last week, is that, Hilltop needs two leaders at the very least. You need the guy that's the front-facing guy and the guy that actually makes things happen. So that was Maggie when it was Gregory. It was Jesus when it was Maggie. And now it seems to be Daryl when it's Tara. So maybe Daryl's right. Maybe it's not important. Maybe it's good to not know who the leader is, but things happen anyway. And then you have nobody to blame. Or maybe you do need somebody to blame. Maybe Gregory was kind of like their godsend for a really long time because you can hate on his ass, but he got things done. So, yeah. And Alexandria has a council. That's a very good point, Nisa. So they do it that way. But yeah, see, and that's the thing. Michonne kind of screws up the council. She kind of, maybe it's the fact that she has more weight or sway, let's say. People listen to her. The council listens to her, let's say. I think the council would be motivated to rule against her if it came down to it. Yeah. But Walani, I think she would get permission just as kind of like a formality, I think. If you really have to think about it. Like, she's a good person, I think, too. I think that makes her a really, really honorable, good person. Like, and maybe is there room for that in society? But still, she checks with Jesus because he's officially the one who's been elected, and she respects that. And I mean, otherwise, I think she would just like sign off on it, just let it go. I think she would do things, without his permission. But that's the thing. That doesn't change the fact that people look to Jesus as being the leader. So even though Tara's the one that's getting things done, I think Jesus still gets the credit for it. And I think that when things go wrong, Jesus gets blamed for things and Tara doesn't, probably. So, and 6 years is a long time to go by without an incident. So just remember the riders. Shit happened. Maybe that's what also got Jesus to start checking out too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we call we might just call this quiz. I think this is the shortest episode by proxy. Like having Carol on the show, kind of going through everything really. The episode had meat. We talked about some deeper concepts, but I think I think that that pretty much covers it. I mean, to be honest, I thought it would be a little longer, but apparently not. Let me just see here. Yeah, exactly. Like what, and that's the thing, Kara, is like, what made him check out? Was it because Maggie wasn't around? Who knows? Who the fuck knows? But I looks like a lot of shit is happening next week. Or I don't even know if those sneak peeks are even from next week, but it would be interesting to know if we do get to see the kingdom again. I think we're due for a little Alexandria action too, by the way. I know we got a little bit at the beginning of the episode, but nobody was really awake. I also think they're going to... What's really cool about sneak peeks is sometimes they don't show the scenes that we were kind of hanging on in the first place. Like, so in episode 9, we kind of leave off with Judith and Negan heading back to Alexandria. And, you know, I think that's where they're gonna pick us up again too. I think it's interesting when they don't choose those scenes in the sneak peeks, because then you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about them, and then we come into the show and you start to see that, and it's pretty great. But yeah, I think let's just call it a wrap. Let's call it a wrap, guys. I think we can keep this pretty simple. If anybody got, and if any, let's put it this way: if you guys want to continue the conversation, do this first. Like the show on YouTube, Facebook. Just keep commenting on the episode. We can continue. Because I did this before with Cosmo Mom 09, Rachel, who, by the way, if you don't know, Cosmo Mom 09 on Instagram, she has a Talking Dead superfan entry. Look for it. Should be under Rachel B. She is the one who's displaying her art, and it's a bit of a long video, and it's near the bottom. Let's give her some upvotes, guys. I think that's a really good idea. But yeah, let's continue the conversation in the comments. We can probably, I can maybe even bring some of the comments that you give me, or you can DM us. The easiest way to do that is on Instagram, obviously, but on our website, on the bottom right, there's a little chat bubble that you can use to DM us on Facebook and Twitter. Hit us up. Yeah, and give Rachel B an upvote on the TalkingDead.com superfan site. I don't know exactly the website, but I might put it in the description below. But yeah, other than that, let's call it a night. And, I'll see you on your own lives using my backup phone. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Actually, so what's interesting is, so Rachel B is Cosmo Mom 0909. So you can hit her up there. So I shouldn't be telling you this, but I'm going to, no, I won't. That's such a shitty thing to say out loud. Now I'm going to have to edit that out, the audio podcast. Anyway, reset. Sorry. But I will say this. I am taking, if you do have a desire to do a long form discussion, on this show, and I have mentioned this before, I am taking submissions when it comes to host, like being a host on the show. Some people have done that already. And all you got to do is just send in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of just talking about the show, and then we'll see how it goes. And then we'll see. And I basically just adds you to the Instagram group, and then we can see where you're at. I'm in talks, and I mentioned this last week with BMNY Deadcast. Those guys. I have Ashley Weidman. She was going to be on the show, but she backed out at the last second. And so I'm just trying to get a list of hosts so that I can really kind of keep on track, and get more interactions. By the way, and like when you'll notice that when we have other people on the show has a lot more flow. We have a lot more back and forth. It's a little bit more palatable to listen to. I mean, it's a lot better than waiting for the lag and to catch up and everything. So yeah. Kara, hit me up in the DMs. Not in that way. I don't know, whatever floats your boat. But hit me up in the DMs and we'll talk. So if you have anything, send me a 5-minute reel. Let me know how you do, and that's it, really. Well, Lonnie. All right, anyway. let's call it a night. Let's get some sleep, motherfuckers. If you have any thoughts on the show, comment, like, subscribe, do all those things. It helps so much. Ratings help a lot. Visibility is key. I want to be at the point where I cannot be able to keep track of the chat. That's a good problem to have. And then I'll figure out a way to solve it. So with that, we were Squawking Dead. Take care, guys.